You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast.
You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. My name is Sean Wilkie, and along with my awesome co host, we interview the innovators in this space every week. I'm excited for today's guest. Ivan, could you kick us off?
Hey, I'm Ivan Zach, and I'm excited to introduce our guest today, David Nietzke. David is the Chief Operating Officer at Snout and one of the early leaders who helped build the company's wellness platform from the ground up. He has deep expertise in scaling wellness programs across both independent and corporate clinics, all while maintaining a culture that respects clinic autonomy and team buy-in. David, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
So I'm also excited because I know your co-founder is an old friend of ours, Emily Don. So she is, I'm excited for you guys to be on this journey. Can you tell us, there's a bunch of wellness plans, there's a bunch of insurances. What is unique about Snout?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, I think when I look at the market today, wellness plans are becoming part of the standard payment stack. So when you think about insurance, when you think about buy now, pay later options, I think they all have their rightful place in veterinary clinics as options. My wife and I have two rescue dogs. They're both 10 and 11 years old. We have pet insurance because I know that, we're going to be faced with a decision eventually between money and potentially prolonging their life. Pet insurance, I think, is a great option for that. There are buy now, pay laters, like, we all know the key two or three brands there. I think those are incredible options for I have to pay for something. It's an emergency. I don't have a choice. I can't afford it. Help me spread this out over X months. But what doesn't exist in the market that works well for a busy clinic is something to actually help pet owners say yes to the care that's recommended. So if you take your, dog into the clinic and they say, hey, you need a heartworm test, a fecal, vaccines, exam, 12 months of heartworm flea and tick medications. By the way, your dog's 11, you should get a full blood panel through analysis. There's no real mechanism to help pet owners say yes to that bill. And that's what Snout is here to do.
That sounds pretty cool. So maybe let's back up a little bit. And first, I want to say congratulations on your guys' recent fundraising round that you just announced. It's a big deal. It's a hard market to raise capital in. So congrats to you and the team. The second point I wanted to say or wanted to ask is, can we step back a little bit? You guys have been around for a while, doing this for a while. You've pivoted a few times. What is Snout today?
Great question. Thank you, by the way, for the shout out on the capital raise. It is not easy, and this industry is in need of a capital injection. So we're happy to provide that to the marketplace. Part of my job every week is to wire veterinary clinics hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I find joy in that every single week we do it. What Snout does today, we exclusively focus on wellness plans for veterinary clinics. They are only offered through veterinary clinics to pet owners. So we partner with clinics, small and large, nationwide, to offer custom wellness plans based on their medical autonomy and pricing. And what those are is a bundle of preventive care services where you can use them whenever you want and pay for them over time. I'd say everyone really knows what wellness plans are. I always ask if people like them or hate them because people have polarizing opinions on them, rightfully so. One thing that we do a little bit differently is we actually pay clinics when services are performed, meaning if you come in on a wellness plan and you spend $500, we're going to finance that transaction and pay the clinic that $500 that week. So hopefully that helps explain what we do. Wellness plan provider, focus exclusively through clinics only, and we finance the transaction to remove the burden.
So can you explain a little bit more to me? So the wellness plans have several different formats, as I understand them. One of them is sort of, let's pay even amounts over the course of the year, and then in that year, these services will be delivered. That's kind of one thing. And then what you're describing is that then the clinic is paid for the services at the time of when they're provided. So it's not the clinic that is receiving equal payments as you are paying the clinic. I'm a little confused because I've seen different kind of formats of it.
Yeah.
And maybe our listeners are also having that confusion.
It's a great question. Thanks for double clicking on that. So let's talk about legacy wellness plans. I think historically they have sucked for clinics, meaning they're really hard to manage. And in the absolute best case scenario, a clinic is paid back 12 months later. So with the traditional wellness plan, you bundle together all these services. Most of the time, your vendor will say you should discount them 20%, 15%, and then they're going to provide most of the services up front. And you say, hey, front desk, please make sure you charge this pet owner 11 more times. What happens if you increase prices during the year? What happens if they stop paying in month 5? How the heck do you calculate doctor production if they're paying for it over 12 months, right? And by the way, does this work with my practice management system? What happens if I have more than one clinic on different practice management systems? And then, like I said, best case scenario, 12 months later, you're made whole. Those are what I'll call legacy wellness plans. Does that kind of make sense how I'm describing that?
Yeah, that's the option that I'm familiar with.
So the good thing about them is pet owners can say yes to care and pay for them over time. And when I always talk internally, I say, hey, team, wave a magic wand. What would you have be true? And that is that pet owners can still say yes to care, but clinics should get paid for those services. They shouldn't discount. Doctors should get full production for it. They shouldn't have to wait 12 months to get their money back. CSRs should not have one extra step, right? Good luck trying to get a hold of me during the course of the day asking for my updated credit card information. I'm not going to do that, right? So we remove that burden from the clinic with technology and capital. The capital piece I started with earlier is we actually pay the clinic when they perform services. So we remove that time risk from collecting money, and we remove the administrative burden.
And maybe a follow-on question to my congratulation message. I read about your fundraising round, and there was 2 components of it: money, what it looked like to build the business, and then another very large chunk of money to fund this. Can you maybe break that down for us a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we announced formally last week was a $10 million equity investment in the form of what Silicon Valley likes to call a Series A, and then also a $100 million debt facility. So when you think about it, let's say Clinic A, Happy Paws, we have like 10 Happy Paws clinics we work with. Happy Paws partners with Snout, and they sign up for wellness plans. They get 50 of their pets on plan the first month. Well, they're going to use their services, and we have to pay that clinic that month for those services. So that takes a lot of capital. That's tens of thousands of dollars every month just for that one Happy Paws location. And we are working with a large bank called Clearhaven right now that we announced up to $100 million. They're going to help finance those transactions, meaning we have now a pool of money where we can continue to grow and service the demand we're seeing in the market right now. And then the equity capital is just to help grow the business. So we're being pulled really hard in the market right now from clinics wanting to work with us because the solution has been working. We need to hire ahead of that growth. We need to invest more money back into the clinic. That's what the equity is for.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. Congratulations. And I can understand how those 2 components work together. Maybe I'm a little dense. I'm just trying to understand. And you have a unique opportunity to sell me on your plans, because I'm converting right now an urgent care hospital into general practice. And that's a very much topic in mind right now. We're converting into hybrid. And then we're thinking, how can we package the services and say, okay, you're coming in with a puppy, you need to do your 8, 12, 16 weeks, then we need to spay, and then there's preventatives of this kind. And then the way we're thinking about it is, okay, let's tell them that that's going to cost them whatever, $2,000, and then we'll split it into monthly payments, and then somehow we're going to collect them, just as you described it from your part. But I didn't understand the last piece. So does the client then pay you, and then essentially it's spread out for returning the capital to you, but clinic is paid as the service is rendered? Is that how that works?
Spot on. That's right. So let's take our traditional plans. We have puppy, adult, and senior, as well as kitten, adult, senior, cat. So let's take a puppy. We will work with you or your medical team to create the plan. So maybe they want to do 2 fecals, some vaccines and boosters, exams, you name it. And then optionally, we have procedures. So you can add on a spay or neuter. You can add on 12 months of heart and flea and tick medications, whether it's an injectable, whether it's a consumable. And you can also add on a dental procedure. So we allow the pets to pay for those things over time. And every single time they come in for services, let's say they come in week 5, the invoice is $300. That will be submitted to Snout via your practice management system. And then we pay you that money. Meanwhile, on the back end, the pet owner is paying Snout monthly. And if they stop paying, essentially that risk is on us.
So you mentioned a couple of things that we bumped into. We literally had this discussion yesterday, so this is very timely. And So you mentioned then, what if the prices change? What if there's production, which is a huge problem on all these wellness plans? That's the biggest kind of problem of how do you compensate the doctor. So with the production, I guess I understand how that happens because it's just calculated from the money paid. So that's easy. How does that adjust the plan if the prices change?
Really good question. So, inflationary environment we're in right now. If you have the typical plan, let's say you do it yourself, you're going to change prices in the next 12 months. Essentially, that acts as a effective discount that you're not recognizing, right? So let's say your heartworm test goes from 40 to 45 or whatever it does. The pet owner is paying essentially 40. You're going to invoice 45. You're not going to get paid that money. So you're baking in a discount. With Snout, we actually anticipate some slight increases during the course of the year, and we cover you for those. Meaning, up to a certain point, if you increase your prices, we will anticipate that and we will pay you for those because you do a tremendous amount of work with your vendors, with your distributors, with your margin profile to determine pricing. The very last thing you want is not to get paid that price. So what Snout does is we pay you for the increased price up to a reasonable point. You can't go from 40 to 80, right, on your heartworm test. But during the course of the year, we will pay you whatever shows up on the invoice, and we will never change the price of a pet owner during their 12-month period. Upon renewal, of course, if your prices go up, they might have an increase of 4, 5, 6% on their new plan. But the pet owner is locked in for the prices and they're essentially protected against inflation for the next 12 months.
It's amazing. So you kind of like, to some degree, a two-sided marketplace a little bit. Tell us more about the innovation behind the organization.
Great question. What I've learned is no one clinic does something the same way. There are a million corner cases. There are a million different practice management systems. Some people put notes in their appointment reminder fields. Like we've seen AR notes in appointment fields. Like this pet owner owes us $500. Let's not forget it. And so I think what we've done over the course of the years is really started to understand all those corner cases. And I think how this shows up for when you ask about innovation, clinics are swamped. Like we cannot ask anyone to do one extra step. So one of the biggest pieces of our innovation that we have here at Snout is you do not have to use any new codes when you partner with Snout. Meaning when we say we cover 4 vaccines or 3 vaccines for a dog plan, that is any vaccine in your system. If we cover 3 and there's 4 on an invoice, we cover the 3 most expensive. You don't have to use specific wellness plan codes. You don't have to tell us which codes are even called vaccines. We have seen hundreds of thousands of transactions in the past, so we understand what a rabies vaccine means, or a rabies that's fat fingered and it's spelled incorrectly, a 40x, things of that sort. So we've essentially mapped codes across a ton of clinics to make it easy for staff to use.
That's really interesting. And then I guess my question from the business perspective and as a clinic owner, sort of, what does the business model look like? Who is paying you? Is it the client? Is this like, how does that work as a business model? And who foots the bill for you guys to build this amazing innovation?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So we have raised small amounts of capital before this equity raise, and we have just put in a lot of sweat equity to build it, truthfully, over the years. How the money flows today is how we survive is we charge a transaction fee to clinics. So if someone comes in and they spend $500, we take a small percentage of that $500 when we pay you out. It is similar to the rate of credit card processing. So it's in the low single digit percentages. And when we pay you out for those services, we're going to take a small transaction fee from that. That's what we survive on. There's no other monthly SaaS fees. There's no gotchas. There's no one-time fee to the pet owner. And the really exciting thing about expanding access to care that's fundamental to our business model, there are no credit checks, soft or hard. There's no interest rates. There is no pre-existing age or breed restrictions, approvals, conditions, no waiting period. Anyone can sign up for these plans and start using benefits that day.
How do you navigate around no credit checks? Because you're relying on them to pay you for whatever extended period of time. And what is the extension? Is it something that you make a plan and say, your spay neuters in 10 months, and so let's spread it for 10 months? And then another thing that I'm asking too many questions, let me ask one. So how do you navigate around no credit checks and verify that, that you're going to get paid?
I will go on a limb and tell you a little bit of our secret sauce here. So all of our wellness plans include unlimited office visits, which is a huge selling proponent. So you guys are no strangers to this. Visits are down nationwide. Whether your clinics are experiencing it or not, there's a lot of different reasons for it. But at the end of the day, the numbers are black and white. Visits are down year over year. And what we found is if you remove the financial barrier to entry, meaning if you remove that exam fee, we find people come in 5.7 times a year. So they come in almost 6 times a year when they're on a Snout wellness plan. So all of our wellness plans have unlimited office visits, meaning tech visit, recheck, wellness, sick even, or diagnostic. Snout covers for the pet owner, meaning the pet owner never has to pay an exam fee. And the clinic always gets paid their exam fee in full every single time. So, quick story, we have a pet in Wisconsin who's came in 80 times in 8 months for fluids. They're on kidney disease. They have kidney disease. They need fluids every single 3 days, and we pay a $35 tech fee every 3 days. We lost our behind on that, but I can talk about it on this podcast. The reason I mention that when you talk about credit checks is because, Dr. Zach, what do you charge for a wellness exam or a walk-in?
Yeah, I think urgent care is a little higher, but GP I think is going to be around $110.
Right. Our average plan price is $62 a month. And for your clinic, for example, we would price in and we would include urgent care. We'd look at your data. We'd expect someone comes in an average of 2.4 times a year. Their cost is 110. That's what we'd price in the plan. So as a pet owner, let's say that plan is $62. You are incented to pay $62 into perpetuity because you might walk in next month for a $110 walk-in fee or urgent care fee, and it's going to cover that exam. So a little bit of our secret sauce is exams are constant incentives for people to continue to pay their monthly fee because they will always have a benefit outstanding.
Interesting.
Right. And when someone is on a wellness plan, what we've seen is they have spent an average of 2.5 times more during the course of a year when they're on a Snout plan versus not. Meaning they come in almost 6 times a year and their ACT skyrockets every single time they come in. And I think what's really important about that is in this industry, it's not all about money, but good medicine and good business are correlated. They're not coming in for a Louis Vuitton scarf. They're coming in to get an ear cytology. So I think that's really important that I didn't mention is people are actually getting the care they need. We work with a lot of consolidators right now. I saw a recent slide from an unnamed consolidator with a few hundred locations that said our average pets get around 38% of the time. They get a 40x a heart test and blood work. With Snout, it's 80%. So we are doubling the compliance of pets when they are before and after Snout for diagnostic care that actually matters.
Bingo. Yeah, beautiful. Makes a lot of sense.
That's amazing. Well, the time ran out. I was trying to sell myself on it, so I think I'm almost sold.
Yeah, I have like 17 more questions. Damn it.
But no, this is really cool, really interesting stuff. Congratulations on the round and the progress to date. And are you going to any shows where people can check you out? Are you going to Western?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll be at Western WVC this year. I'm actually curious from your guys' perspective. There's a list that was just published of 30 shows this year. Are there any in particulars that you guys think are most valuable, that your listeners maybe think are most valuable? What you've experienced in the show, I think both of you have a ton of questions. This is not an easy product to understand in a 30-second come by my booth and spin the wheel, right? So we're always trying to figure out the best shows to attend. And I'm curious if you guys have heard anything from yourselves or your listeners for a product like ours that takes a little bit more explanation.
It's a Sean question. He knows everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's an excellent question. I mean, typically you want to go to where the people are. So that's VMX and WVC, but then layering in the complexity of the solution and the requirement to have longer conversations, a lot of the shows could be very meaningful because you have more time with the attendees. And that's probably another whole episode of the podcast. So we'll take that one offline and maybe grab a coffee at Western and talk about it a little bit more. But listen, Dave, it was a pleasure to have you here. We've got 2 questions that we like to ask every guest as we wrap up. And so the 2 questions for you. First one's a book, a YouTube video, a TED Talk, something that you would recommend to our audience that's you found interesting so far on your journey.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good question. There is a TED Talk, Dr. Melody Bowden, when I first came into this industry, really surprised me learning about the life of a veterinarian, the state of the industry. Mental health is super important to me and my family as well. I think you have to take care of yourself first and then show up to work. And that's the only way to be your best professional self as well. So learning about the mental health state of providers in this industry, along with kind of how money is affecting that, I think really motivated me. So I think that's a TED Talk I think everyone should listen to.
Awesome. And the second question that we usually ask, is there another innovator that you would recommend on the show?
It's a really good question. I was thinking about that constantly before I came onto the show. I think I don't have a good answer to that question, truthfully. When I think about people who it would be valuable to hear from, I think it's individual practice owners and DVMs who are in the industry every single day who have experience with some of these technologies. You can hear from someone like me or another, executive at another company talking about how great the product is. I think until you actually hear it in practice, speaks volumes. So there's no shortage of veterinarians I have in mind who would love to come on and share experiences about, something like Snout or just what they're seeing in the industry right now.
Thank you so much for listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. If you want to hear about our new episodes, please follow us on any social media channel. Also, you can check out our website at veterinaryinnovationpodcast.com. See you next week.